G'day, everyone. Welcome to the Big Footy Eagles podcast for another week. Coming up on the show, we're going to unpack yet again a where are they at question for the West Coast Eagles because, gents, yet again, they've let us down on the weekend in a pretty significant way. So we will be, of course, unpacking that Eagles defeat at the hands of Sydney in Geelong. Awful stuff. We're talking heroes and villains, going to try and add a little bit of levity to the Eagles community at the moment. And then, of course, we're turning our attention to our Monday night football game with North Melbourne, if you do not mind. I'm your host, Honey Badger 35. Joining me this week, once again, is Miguel Sanchez. Migs, another pleasant weekend of the footy. How does it feel being a West Coast Eagles fan today?
Pretty disappointing. We're folding the club, aren't we?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. If we hadn't already, it's long gone. It's ancient history. Yeah, not great stuff. Keys also joining us on the show. Keys, welcome back. Nice to see that you're still joining us after the Eagles decided to not turn up. We've turned up tonight. So anyway, welcome to the show, Keys.
Yeah, another shitful performance by the boys. Can we just fucking drop a bomb on Cardinia Park and just forget about it forever? Jesus Christ, what a fucking shit show that was.
Yeah, that'll solve one of our problems. I don't know that it'll solve all of our problems. Problems might run a little bit deeper than a single venue, but yeah, let's swear off GMHBA Stadium and never go back there again. I'm on board with that. Guys, thank you very much for joining us, people who are jumping online with us now. We've got some people in the chat. Paul's loving the names. Miguel Sanchez here and Rusty S. Pike. I'm just boring Honey Badger 35, but we'll change that at some point, no doubt. Look, share the show. Jump in the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what's going wrong with the club, where we need to step up, where we can fix things, and we'll all just commiserate together because it's not so fun at the moment, guys. But I think we might as well just dive straight in, rip the Band-Aid off nice and early and get stuck into the game. Let's talk about West Coast versus Sydney. West Coast Eagles, 3 goals, 8, 26. Were defeated by Sydney, 18 goals, 10, 118. Migs, you're not going to win too many games of footy, only, 11 scoring shots. That won't win you a lot of games of footy. And we've come away with yet another 90-plus point thumping in Geelong. How fun was all of that? What do you make of all of
that? Keys mentioned shit show before, and that was the first word in my notes too. We were sitting here a week ago saying it was a great opportunity to bury a couple of hoodoos, bury the Sydney away hoodoo, bury the Cardinia Park hoodoo. It was an 8-point game, all of that, and then, it turned in that miserable shit show of a performance. The thing we identified beforehand was that we needed to win the ball from the centre clearances, and we did that reasonably well, at least in the first half, but then didn't do it cleanly, turned the ball over pretty much straight away, and then just couldn't win it back. Couldn't deal with the Swans' pressure at all, couldn't sort of put any pressure on their ball movement, couldn't take any territorial advantage when we did have the ball. Even when we got the ball inside 50, which wasn't that often. I think we had 40 inside 50s. You're not going to win a game of footy playing that, game of footy doing that either. Even when we did get it inside, we couldn't find a path to goal. 3 goals for the match for the side we put out there. So, pretty much nothing went right except we won the hit-outs and we broke even in the centre clearances. And then from that point on, everything just went terribly, terribly wrong.
Yeah, it was a rare knick-knack game for me where he wasn't quite clearly in our best handful of players. He was quiet by his standards. There weren't a lot of good players on the day, so maybe he was. I don't know. But, Keys, a bit of a quiet knick-knack game, and yet we've been waiting on this midfield to come back to full health, get Yo back, Shuey, Kelly alongside him, all of these guys. It turns out if knick-knack's not at 90%, not at 100%, not giving us this silver service, the midfield mix wasn't firing on the weekend. It didn't fire the week before. So, long term, we've got to start having a look at what exactly is the ideal midfield mix to fit all this talent in, Keys.
Yeah, it's something I've been trying to get my head around the last couple of weeks. Something's not working. Something's just is missing, and it's really hard to know what it is. You look at the side on paper, and the names are there. I think Simpson's a good coach. We had every motivation to play well, but the guys just didn't. And it's whether we've got guys that aren't willing to get their hands dirty and do the the team things and the defensive things, and they're sort of, you've got too many guys who want to be the guy that wins the game for us, but no one wants to do the sacrificial role that we've had guys do in the past. I'm not too sure. Maybe, there's too many egos, or it's really quite hard to put the finger on. Guys, maybe not fully fit, but just the pressure just doesn't seem to exist when we haven't got the ball. And we copped it in the press, and there was some vision of players just not putting in. And if you play a zone type defence like we do, if you're not prepared to work and run, well, then it's just going to get sliced open. And I mean, we leaked 18 goals, and our defenders weren't great, but geez, they didn't have much chance with the just complete lack of pressure coming up the ground.
Yeah, we've got a couple of guys jumping in the chat here as well. Joe says attitude and work rate, simple as that. And Rod says too many one-way players. Sheed, Kelly, Shuey, Yo, and Reddens, only ones who defend. It's a bit of an interesting mix. I had a chat with somebody today, Migs, who was talking about Stephen Coniglio. Apparently he's got a bit of a contract situation at GWS, not getting picked and having to work his way back, all this sort of stuff. And they made the point that, they'll be coming back home at one, he'll be coming back in at some point. And honestly, for the first time in a very long time, you always want to add talent, for sure, if you can. But for the first time in a long time, I was sort of thinking, I don't really think that adding Stephen Coniglio fixes anything. It's not a talent issue, or at least it shouldn't be.
No.
The talent looks fantastic, and we've done more with less in the past. So a lot of it is starting from the midfield, because the forwards weren't efficient, but they didn't really have a chance. And I mean, the backs, people are starting to lean in on some of these backmen and saying, why is Barras giving up this? Why is McGovern doing X, Y, and Z? He's been found out. But, Migs, the reality is I don't think any backline in footy is surviving if you're inundating them 60, 65 times a game.
Yeah, we had 60 on the weekend. I actually did. I had a pretty detailed look at it, because I had this theory that we don't seem to play well with the three really A-grade mids, Kelly, A-grade inside mids, Kelly, Shuey, and Yo. We haven't had them together too often, and we sort of got excited when Shuey and Kelly came back, and then we've proceeded to shit the bed twice in a row. So I went back, and this is how I spend my free time. Had a look at the record with the three of them, and I did a nice little table that I'll probably post up in the podcast thread after we're finished, assuming I remember. But basically, our record with the two of them playing, with two of them, with Kelly and one other, we've had far and away a better record than with the three of them playing. We've had 10 games where all three play, and we've won 5, we've lost 5, and we've got a percentage of 84, 85. And we're also in those games a combined minus 78%, minus 78 in contested possessions. So we're losing contested possessions by about 8 a game in those 10 games we've had them. We've had 9 games where Kelly has played with either Shuey or Yo, but not both.
Yep.
We're 6-3 in those, and one of those losses was the Essendon game where he only played a half and got injured, less than a half. So really we're 6-2. We've got a percentage of 122, and we're plus 54 in contested possessions. So we're winning contested possessions in that by about 6 a game. So what does that all mean? I don't know. One theory I've got is that they're all a little bit similar. They're all a bit ball hungry. There's not enough blocking for teammates going on, and sort of too many Chiefs and not enough Indians, maybe. That's going to be an even bigger issue this week, I think, with Redden going out. But yeah, whatever it is, hopefully the people at the club are looking at it in even more detail than I am, and there's something being changed up, because that combination, the three of them, and you mentioned possibly adding Coniglio to that mix and adding another midfielder in, and we've added Kelly to this to our premiership midfield, and when all the names are in there, it's just not working. So yeah, something needs to change. Something must be done.
Joe jumped in and
you
say
look
maybe
at
the
the-
big names
Yeah.
assume someone else will do it. You know, it's maybe
That's a
that
very
is
good
it.
comment.
Maybe it's as simple as that. You need Keys, Wes, the Rowan Jones type who'll just not really have anything to do themselves other than make space.
I was just going to say, like, if you look at that mid-2000s side, you had guys like Rowan Jones and Tyson Stengline as well, who were prepared to sort of do the dirty work and like they weren't worried about getting the footy. They just had a role. And even in that, you know, when we had that run in the 2018 finals, it was, you know, had guys like Hutchings and Maston in the side that, again, you know, a lot of people will say, well, they weren't that good. But, you know, they let the likes of Sheed and Shuey and Yo go about their bit, getting the footy and moving it forward. And they weren't prime movers by any stretch. And I think that's possibly where we're, you know, maybe that's where we're lacking, that we just don't have that grunt type work. And the shame of it is, I don't know who we have on our list that can come in and do that. You know, without, you maybe try one of the younger guys like a True or West or something like that. But you know, that's a big ask for those guys to come in and do
that
have
on
an
debut.
impact. So you're looking at, and Hutch has passed it, so you don't want to bring him in. So
no. And Archie's a band-aid, even if he works for a few weeks. Archie's not here in 2 years, you wouldn't have thought. So
yeah, I mean, we've tried Brander in the wing playing that sacrificial role. That you know, he's not named in the 26 this week, so I don't know what's going on there. So, but yeah, it's just a matter of saying. I saw during the week someone talking about maybe playing Yo off half back, which isn't a. You know, I don't know. That's a silly idea. Get him running at the footy and running through, and then that opens it up for Shuey and Kelly to sort of take control in the middle a little bit more. We've still named Luke Edwards. You know, let him, give him a role, like give him a specific role. I don't know. In the last 2 weeks that he's had that, you know, we've lost. You know, we'll touch on it later. We've lost Red. I mean, that was the other shit from the weekend. Well, I mean, we lost Redden and Jones to injury, so we've just got our full squad back, and now we've lost at least 2 players out of the weekend's game.
And Witherden.
And Witherden as well. So
yeah, but you're never going to have a full list, you know. There's always going to be a couple out. I feel like we've tipped the balance of health back into our favour this week compared to, let's say, 6 weeks ago where we're at. You know, you're looking at Shuey's back, Yo's back, Kelly's back, you know, Gov is back, all these sorts of guys. Kennedy was in and out a bit. Ryan's been in and out a bit. I know he got suspended, but these sorts of guys, you know, I'd back our list in with this group of players, but for whatever reason, Migs, it's definitely not working. Look, Paul in the chat here says, is the game plan dated? And it's a valid question, and it's also obviously a sentiment that's starting to really ring loudly, I suppose, in the Eagles fan base. Reading through some 3-word reviews, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but just scrolling through here on Facebook, you know, Simpson needs help. We've got no hunger again. Coaching changes required. Where's plan B? Happens too often. All these sorts of things. It's a bit of a recurring theme at this point, Migs, that when it's our day, all good. When it's not our day, my goodness, it is not our day. We're off by an absolute mile. Like, is it game plan related? Is it attitude? Is it coaching? I mean, Migs, if you had the answer, I'm sure you'd be in there helping the boys out. But how is it that when we're off, we are so far off?
I send Simo emails all the time. He's yet to reply. Got a heap of ideas for him. I mean, I agree with all of those sentiments that have been floated. Yeah, we don't have the game plan doesn't seem to have changed at all this year. You know, a lot of teams, and probably the teams that are top of the ladder, have adjusted their game plan for this new rule. You know, the stand on the mark rule, which has been probably the biggest change in the game that we've seen this year. I haven't seen that ours has changed. We still absolutely refuse to use the corridor most of the time. And probably the games where we've gone against that have been the games that we've looked best. Richmond, we seem to take on the corridor a fair bit. But yeah, we went down to Virginia Park and didn't want to do it. Losing Jetta out of the side, not having Witherden for most of the year, and then there's not a lot of guys that seem to want to take that 45 kick on. So we do our usual thing of going around the back and going up the wings, and yeah, we saw on the weekend that really doesn't work at Virginia Park. Teams have been shutting it down all year, and and we don't seem to have any idea what to do when it's not working. There hasn't been too much that's happened. I mean, Simpson talks in his presses about levers he pulls and so on, but at least on the TV, it's difficult to see what those levers are, and difficult to see what happened. And obviously, none of the levers are doing anything because the momentum shifts against us. There's been probably half a dozen games like that now this season, and there hasn't been any of those games where we've been able to arrest it. So, yes, something must be done.
Yeah, and Keys, I'm thinking, we've talked a lot on the show over this season specifically, but even probably going back into other seasons. The Giants game this year, we went down by a kick or two. That's a quote-unquote normal, acceptable loss, whatever you want to term it. The Dogs game, that first Dogs game over there, it was tough, it was tight, went down to the wire. We might have pulled it out, but you'll lose some games over the course of the year. Everybody knows you're not going to go undefeated. But honestly, aside from those two games, every loss has been absolutely significant. Not just like, they were sort of second best all day and they just got done, anything like that. I'm talking Geelong, blowout. Sydney was a blowout. The Dogs got on top early and should have been up by plenty to start the game, and in the end, they blew us out nonetheless. What else have we had? The Essendon game was disappointing. It's probably more that I'm forgetting or have blanked out. The big St Kilda collapse, of course. Like, when we're off, Keys, we're all the way off. So is there a player on the list that you think is going to rip us out of that form? Is it a leadership issue in the coaching box, on the field? What's going on that we just let go of the ropes so badly?
Yeah, there's times, the St Kilda and Essendon games, just in the end, back of those games, we just weren't competitive, and we just don't seem to know how to get ourselves when the game turns against us. We don't seem to know how to arrest it, and it's almost like sides know they've got us, and they press up, they trap us. Simpson talks a lot about territory, getting trapped in our defensive half, and we just don't know, and we don't seem to have the courage or the desire to take a risk, to move it out. Very, very deliberate, slow ball movement without a clear way out, and it almost always end up with a long kick down the line to a contest. You perhaps rather see us pull the trigger on a 45 into the corridor, and if it turns over and you get scored against, well, okay, that's what happens. But take the chance, because at least that way it opens it up. And if sides know that you're not going to take that kick, then they can press us, and they'll sit on us watching us zigzag across the defensive 50 all day. They're happy to do it. And they just, they'll just watch us and then just wait and trap us on one side of the ground, knowing full well that, they don't have to worry too much about getting exposed in the corridor, because we haven't got anyone in that back half like Jetta.
We're not going to use it
to take that kick.
Yeah, and Foley was someone that I saw take that kick a fair few times, especially against Richmond. So disappointing to see him seemingly, out of the squad and not in contention at the moment. I don't know where things are at with him. Migs, we'll move on to heroes and villains pretty shortly, but let's quickly sort of take the temperature of everybody in this chat, and in the comments as well. Jump in, let us know where we're at with the Eagles this year. We came into the season expecting one thing. I think about the halfway point, we might have revised down slightly, although still had some optimism about what could happen, health and getting on a roll, all this sort of stuff. Well, reality's starting to set in. The Eagles are absolutely at a crossroads, it would appear. Similar to a 2017 sort of style. Do you kick on and make finals? Is that good for your long-term development? Is that papering over the cracks? All these sort of discussions are starting to come up. So, Migs, we're just in the 8 at this point. There's a host of teams from 8th through to, I think, 10th or so that are all on a similar number of wins. We're not going to climb too far up. Even if we get on a roll, the top 4 is really starting to separate. 5th and 6th are starting to put a little bit of distance on us as well. Percentage is not flash. Do we make the finals? And if so, are the Eagles just looking to win a final this year? Is that a good year from this point onwards? Where we found ourselves, is that what you want to see as sort of a new pass mark, Miguel?
I'm not sure you give it a pass, but yeah, that's probably our high water mark at this stage. Is similar to 2017, is getting into the finals and having probably an away final, because I don't know if we'll even catch the top 6 at this stage. So having an away final win, and then whoever in the top 4 loses hosts us in the semi, and yeah, that's probably where our season ends. But I suppose the silver lining with that is that that's exactly what happened in 2017, and was that the year we fell into the finals with the final win over Adelaide? Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, you so-and-sos know what happened next the following year. So, yeah, certainly I think for development, it's worth fighting to at least get that sort of outcome rather than tanking now and trying to get a top 10 draft pick. I'd hate for us to see that. I'd hate to see us do that. We're not Carlton or Melbourne. Get into the finals and see where the draft chips fall. But yeah, I think that's our high watermark from now, is getting into the bottom half of the 8 and maybe having one surprise win before we bow out in the semis.
Keys, has Migs nailed it there? Is that about where we're looking at, all things considered?
Pretty much. I think you look at it, and I think we're going to finish somewhere between 7th and 10th at the end of the home and away. We've got 4 games coming up, 4 games in a row against sides that are all outside finals and aren't really, I don't think any of them are a chance to make finals. So we've got a chance to get 4 wins on the road, 4 wins on the trot. None of them are guaranteed. But if we do that, we'll be on 12 wins, I think, which will probably be enough to get in the finals. And then we've got Melbourne, Fremantle and Brisbane to round out the season. So we could potentially drop all 3 of those games. So, yeah, best case scenario, I reckon we finish 7th. And if we drop one or 2 of these sort of next 4 coming up, well, then, you're probably looking finishing as low as 10th. And we haven't. Port is now the only side in the 8 that we've beaten. And we'll get to them a bit later when we do villains, but they've only won 1 game against the top 8 side themselves. So, beating Port is not that great a measure. And then we've lost games to Giants, Essendon and St Kilda are all in the mix. So, most of our wins are coming against bottom 6 sides. Maybe missing the finals or get the. I don't know. If we miss the finals, there's going to be some serious heat come on the club, because the list we've got, we should be right in the hunt for top 4. To talk that we might miss finals is and that's the reality. That's where we're at, and
yeah. And it would be an underperformance for the age. I thought we would have
seen a response last week, and we just. Yeah. I mean, I could. You go against Sydney and you think, okay, if we had lost by a goal or 2 and had a real dip, you think, okay, well, fair enough, that's the way it goes. But
it's footy.
We just curled up our toes and didn't.
And how often have we said that this year?
Well, that's the thing.
How
that's
often
the
have we said that
difference.
this year?
You had a loss here or there. That's footy.
Is against the Bulldogs. If the Bulldogs had a kick straight, we would have.
Yeah.
That would have been a third 15-goal loss for the season, and that's. I think I did a look before. Simo's only been beaten by 10 goals less than 10 times. in his career. And the Bulldogs doesn't count but that should have been. We've had 2 90-point losses under Simo this year. I don't think we've had a loss that high, and we've had 2 this year with a list that's got. Well, what it came out during the week, we got 6 of the top 50 players in the league. We got more guys in the top 50 in the club. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe we got some guys that are on good money and don't have to worry about putting in.
Yeah, Joe's saying here maybe best thing for this group is to miss finals and get some hunger back. It's a sentiment that I see thrown around. It's not a sentiment I agree with as such, because I think you always want to make finals, get a little bit of experience. I'm firmly in the camp that 2017 away final, forcing extra time, winning in extra time, all of that helps the group when you're down in a grand final or you're down in a game later on. So I think that's helpful, but geez, I can't expect that we're going to go much further than the first week if we even get that far at this point. So yeah, Keys, dark times.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Let's get some levity back into the show. We'll brighten things up. We'll spice things up a bit. We'll talk heroes and villains. It's been a big week for the Eagles fans, myself included, to just avoid all footy coverage. I've stayed out of it. I don't want to know about it. I'm sick of the footy. Hopefully we can get a little bit of hunger back and get the good vibes back on Monday. But Keys, for now, there has been some villainy this week, as I understand it. So lead us off, as you normally do so very well. Who's pissed you off this week, Keys?
Well, normally, most of the villains this week we're fucking blue and gold. Because it's the guy, it's the coaches, it's the players, it's the club. They're straight up villain week for me. They need to be better. I mean, normally this is where I put the press for having to go at the Eagles, and they're all full of shit. But you know what? They plotted us and they were right, because we haven't got any comeback. We were absolute shit, and we've been called out for it. So, really hard to put anyone in the press this week. So I'm just gonna randomly fire off someone. Clayton Oliver, because I watched the game tonight, and he's a dickhead. And Melbourne in general, because they got the most collection of punchable heads in the comp. Can't stand the pricks. Port
Man
Adelaide.
after my own heart.
Port Adelaide. Swamp Things posted up versus the bottom 10 sides this year, or sides outside the 8. They're 10 zip with a percentage of 164 or something stupid. Against sides in the 8, they're 1 and 5 with a percentage of 74. Now, if people aren't going to climb into them as flat track bullies, like they used to do with us a few years ago, there's something wrong, because they are the absolute walking fucking definition of a flat track bully. So Port can get in the bin as well. Steve Hawking quit.
Yep. Piss off.
Piss off.
Yep.
I'd almost nominate him as a hero because he's quit.
I was going to. Yeah.
He's damaged the game.
I'm pretty sure as soon as that news came out, I'm pretty sure I bags that claim.
He takes his saboteurs bloody shit to the Geelong Footy Club instead of ruining the AFL. So fuck off, Hawking. That'll do.
When I found out about it, I actually said the phrase, which is a cheesy bullshit line. What a thing to say. But I said, "Oh, we got our game back, Migs." That's how happy I was. So I reckon Hawking's some hero stuff. Let's keep it villainous then. That Port Adelaide stat, by the way, Keys, that reminds me of 2018 Melbourne, who were just beating the shit out of the bottom 10, could not get a win against the top 8 whatsoever. And, Migs, we know how that one ended up. So look for Port to get absolutely thumped in the finals at some point.
The thing with Port, they've been doing that for a while too. That's not new for them.
But they're Port. No one cares about them. The most headlines that Port draw is when they're talking about what bit of fabric they're going to run out in Case. So, they're not... the media aren't going to get on their back unless they're going after Collingwood. Either way. Migs, villainy. Hit me up.
Can I nominate you blokes? Because within about 5 minutes of that news, the Steve Hawking news coming out, I messaged you both and said, dibs on nominating Geelong as Heroes of the Week. And you've both just preempted me. So
I haven't done Heroes yet. You can nominate Geelong.
Well, badge then.
Fair enough.
Who else have I got? On a similar vein, the West for mentioning one of my I had a Twitter exchange with Will Schofield, and
I saw this.
I mentioned Schofield, and referred to me as a punter.
A punter got in touch with Will Schofield.
Yeah, I think I deserve a little bit more respect from that.
Successful,
Probably.
semi-successful
Well, I didn't call you a
podcast.
campaigner.
Yeah. And also whoever at the AFL, if it was the AFL, if it's hockey, scheduling the game on a Monday night. Monday night games suck. I know there's financial reasons for it and the club benefits, but they suck.
Yep. Yeah, Monday 5:40, not ideal for anybody. Villains of the week.
I'll tell you what,
Right.
I'll be one of the about 10 people in Perth that Monday night suits.
Oh, well, Keys, I'll see you there. See you there. It'd be beautiful. Villain of the week, who are we giving it to? Are we giving it to the West Coast Eagles because they've ruined my week, or are we're going to avoid that indignity for another week?
They've given us plenty to talk about, so did they get points for that?
Oh, this is awful, but it's tremendous content. Yeah, I reckon they're my villain of the week. Unfortunately, or GMHBA Stadium. We can give it to the stadium if you'd prefer. Completely
and utterly disappointing. So they get it.
Yeah,
breaks my heart. West Coast Eagles are the villain of the week. Migs, now I got a message here. It says that you've got a dibs on a hero of the week. Can you hear about that?
I'm going to sit out this segment now. Assault.
Oh, what a fucking dummy spit.
Migs is having a protest.
Oh.
Right.
That was my...
You get
I read it out
game
before.
The Eagles with that sort of dummy spit attitude. Pack up and go home.
It's not going his way, so he wants to sit things out. G'day,
Sam. You beat the GM Booga Booga Stadium.
Get a trip over my bottom lip. So nomination to Geelong for diving on that grenade and taking Steve Hocking off the rest of our hands. So yes, thank you. The difficulty will be if they appoint someone who's even worse, like B. Scott or someone. But I suppose we cross that bridge when we come to it.
I cannot wait. We're talking about what will provide good content. Brad Scott at the helm of the Australian Football League would provide plenty of content for me. I don't really have any heroes. Keys is doing his best, Brad Scott, up there in the corner. I like that. Any other heroes from yourself, Migs, or pass it over to Keys?
That's all I had, I think.
Keys, anybody actually do the right thing for us this week?
One of our listeners, Bender El Haraj, whatever his name is.
All right, yep.
Nomination of the week for my beer to drink. It's actually not bad, mate. Well done.
On a scale of all the beers that you've been drinking thus far on the show, Keys, where does it sit?
I don't know.
Long and hard. Doesn't remember the last one. Fair enough. Cameron comes in with Hero of the Week for Ben O'Connor for winning Stage 9. I don't know what that means. Is this the Tour de France reference?
Tour de France.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry. Yeah. I didn't want to set myself up for it meaning something unbelievably out of my sphere, but I did know that he won the Tour de France stage. So there you go. That's a good one. Well done, Ben O'Connor. I'm sorry. I'm not giving Hero of the Week to Geelong. Not after what we did in Geelong this week.
We give it to Ben O'Connor then.
I think Ben O'Connor has to get it. It's bloody hell. This is a grim week.
I got nothing. I got no mood for heroes this week.
Keys, I will make you the hero of the week if you can pronounce the title of that beer in one go. Hold it up for the camera here.
Wahid Stefana.
That'll do.
One Stefano, I think.
Yeah, why not? There you go.
I don't know, but my wife's away, and a sneaky shout out to her because I think she's bloody shadow watching.
Bumping up the numbers.
She's not brave enough to put a message on the screen. She's just sent me a text. So
just watch the comments from now on and see if it pops up.
G'day to Mrs. Keys there, bumping up the numbers. Now, Paul's come through in the chat. Apparently, it's called Vine Stefana. So there was pretty good effort. Pretty good effort there, guys. So hero of the week, it's got to be Ben O'Connor, right? Cycling.
Yeah, give it to Ben O'Connor.
Yeah.
Well done, Ben. Good stuff.
Done as Stephen Bradbury there, though.
That'll be the first and last time we give it to a cyclist.
Ben O'Connor is your hero of the week. All right, moving on. Round 17. The West Coast Eagles have a football game. Maybe they'll turn up for this one, Nicks. They play North Melbourne, 5:40 p.m. on Monday night. Monday was picked to allow for full crowds. I don't know how much of a full crowd you're going to get after a 100-point blowout and, playing North Melbourne, 5:40 on a work night and all of that. Nonetheless,
Shithouse
Migs,
weather.
shocking weather, shocking opponent, shocking home team, let's be honest. It is, you play the hands you dealt, Migs. So, yeah, we've got this game coming up. Early takeaway from yourself. What are you expecting to see out of it? And we've got some ins and outs to run through as well. So tell us who you think makes the final cut on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the issue on the head there, I think, which is that there's not a lot we can get out of this game, really, other than 4 points, maybe a bit of momentum back and a bit of confidence. But it's really unfortunate fixturing that we're now, we're in this must-win situation and we're drawn to play bottom because, there's not a lot. I've seen some comments on the board that, which would you find worse would be, a surprise loss here or a big flat track win. And I understand the sentiment because even if we were to get a flat track win over North Melbourne, I don't think we'd get much from that. But we better fucking
I don't think we're getting much from anything though.
No.
Ignore the option of 100-point loss. Like if we ignore that, I'm not saying it's not going to happen because geez, have a look at us. Yeah. But if we just put that to one side for a second, is a 20-point loss or a 20-point win or an 80-point win? Are we getting anything more or less out of any of those? People will think we're no good, regardless, and rightly so. The loss maybe is a bit more of a shock and it hurts your ladder positioning. The 80-point win gets you a bit closer to finals, perhaps. But are we taking anything out of this game no matter what, really, here, Migs?
It's probably the effort, I think, that you'd take out rather than the scoreboard. So, you want to see, particularly if it is going to be a wet game and it's not on our terms, you want to see players putting in and, you want to see that fanatical pressure around the ball, hassling North Melbourne when they've got the ball. But yeah, it's not going to be much of a spectacle, I don't think. You mentioned changes. So what have we seen so far? Redden out injured, Jones out injured, Witherden out injured.
Yep, replaced by any of this giant group here. You got Ryan, Gaff, O'Neill, Nelson, Rotham, and Archie are the ones to come in. Obviously, extended benches and all of that.
Well, Gaff for Redden with a bit of a mix-up of the midfield is obvious. Ryan for Jones is obvious. Rotham probably unlucky to come out, so he comes in for Witherden. I think even if that makes us a little bit tall in defence and North aren't particularly tall in the forward line. The alternative there is Nelson, I suppose, but yeah, that'll be a popular move. And then I had a fourth change, which was sort of weather related, and it's Vardy coming out. It's only partly weather related because Vardy was one of the worst on a particularly bad day. Vardy coming out and someone like Archie coming in, just an extra runner, an extra guy who can take a midfield rotation. He's a bit versatile. I'm surprised at this point of the year I want Archie in the side, but here we are. And yeah, hopefully Luke Edwards holds his spot. Hopefully Foley holds his spot because I think at the stage we're at the moment, where we're not going to be contending for a flag.
Play against Sydney?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I misspoke before. He did. I was completely off the mark. I had a look at the stats there, and there was his name, but I don't remember him showing up at all.
He seemed to get pushed up the ground a bit
but yeah,
in the second half. Yeah. He didn't seem to be down back a lot.
No,
he seemed to be
but we had Duggan on the wing, so it wasn't like there was...
on Sunday. But...
Yeah,
This is the thing. And I'm genuinely not trying to be insulting or, it goes to show the complete lack of prep that I've put in, I suppose. It's more my fault than theirs. But when it was listed that Witherden was an out, I was racking my brains to remember whether Witherden played or not. And I'm now saying
he played terribly. He would have.
He got tackled here and he fumbled there. I think I remember that. But they've not covered themselves in. Oh, that's right. He had that where he launched. The guy had already come down, but then he launched into him.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So there you go. That shows how utterly forgettable the Sydney game was. Keys, we've got Paul in the comments saying, what's Brander done to leave him out of the team? How far away is he? This is where the back half of our season is going to live or die as a quote-unquote success or an abject failure. Because if we're not making a run for something, which it looks like we're not, let's be honest, if we're not making a serious run for a flag or a deep finals run, anything like that, then these weeks are crucial development weeks for that next generation. Foley, Brander, the Edwards guys, plenty of guys here that should be getting a run or getting a look in. What do you want to see in terms of the youth from this week and going forward? And then also, why do you think Jared Brander is so far away from the conversation?
I don't know. His form started to tail off a little bit before he got injured, and I suspect he's maybe a victim of the move to try and get away from a too tall side. That's my best guess. Is his height, and they're sort of wanting, they've been criticised for being too tall, and I reckon that might be what's squeezing him out. Beyond that, I'm not quite sure, because I think his last waffle game, which seems like a month ago now, I think he did all right from what I understood. So I don't quite know. It's really hard, because I've been watching. You see some of the comments tonight around the team selection, and there's a lot of people saying, no senior players are getting dropped and things like that, which is true. But then I'll start looking and think, okay, well, who are you dropping? You're not, you're dropping Kennedy, you're dropping Darling, you're dropping, Cripps. Who are you gonna drop? We've got Kelly, Shuey, Yo. Seen a few people potting Sheed. We're dropping McGovern. There's a lot of guys who have done pretty well, and I think it's a problem that we had, I think, in 2017 to an extent, where we had guys that were sort of picking, and it was only just towards the back end of that year we sort of changed things around a little bit. But yeah, I think, mate, I don't quite know what to do. As far as, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, as far as what I'm expecting on Monday night, as you guys said, it doesn't really, the result is, a loss is just, you set fire to the club. A small win doesn't do it. I mean, as much as, we'll almost get criticised for it. If the best thing is to win by a lot, but a win that's a big win that's on the base of really concerted effort, smashing in, like really putting physical pressure on North. It's the way we. If we just get the game, if North just fold up and we just win the game on our own terms, it doesn't tell us a lot. But if we can crack in, put them under some serious pressure, do all the things that we haven't been doing, tackling, harassing, running hard, then you take the win. We need a big win. So you really want, if you're looking at this game, you want us to be beating North by 10 goals. That's what should happen. But we'll see. Then selection-wise, I don't know. I think Simo's trying to back the guys in, but they've got to give him a response. The response that we wanted last week that we didn't get, we need it this week. I'll be interested to see. I reckon our most blue-collar midfielder will be lost, which is Redden. So what we talked about earlier, with Redden out, is possibly only going to make that problem even worse. But we'll see. And more attacking out of the defensive 50 and taking more risks. Anyway, I don't know who we leave out.
We're talking what's the best outcome, is that shock loss the ultimate wake-up call, is a small win, what's papering over cracks, all this. For me, winning big is always the outcome. You always want that, and I understand the argument that, but that'll just make people slap each other on the back and think they've turned a corner. You look at North Melbourne, they're last in the league in scoring. They concede the most points in footy. They don't tackle well. They don't go inside 50 a lot. They don't even get the footy a lot. short of their hit-out numbers, which are pretty good, and the fact that they're ranked second in clangers per game, which is not a good thing. You want to be ranked 18th in that stat. So they don't lead a lot of categories, Migs, but I always want a big win. There is no scenario where I think a big win is genuinely bad. And if we can put a big win against a team that, pretty bad, let's be honest, they're bottom of the ladder, it doesn't solve anything for the Eagles long term. But it buys us some time, it buys us some breathing room, and then the answer will always be, all right, well, what do you do the following week against Adelaide? And the answer is always going to be, what do you do next time you come up against Melbourne or Brisbane or, even Freo coming after a finals place, in a big derby and this sort of stuff. There are bigger games on the horizon. But, Migs, for me, for now, we might as well just go out and smash these because you look at the numbers and North Melbourne are not a good footy team.
Yeah, but they haven't been in bad form lately. They've had, I think from their last 4 games, they've had 1 win and 1 draw, and the 2 losses have been against the Bulldogs, who are fighting for top spot, and Brisbane, who are pretty firmly entrenched in the top 4. So their recent form, they're a young team and they'll be pretty inconsistent. But yeah, their recent form suggests they're not going to be easy beats. Whether we've talked about obviously doesn't play into our hands at all. They are, as you said, bottom in scoring, give up a lot of inside 50s, so they should be there for the taking. So what do we want to see from this? I think we've talked about it. We just want to see effort. The biggest criticism against our guys is that they sort of pick and choose when to go. So if we're saying to them you can't be picking and choosing, we want to see effort every time, then we want to see effort now. We want to, as you said, go out and smash. Yeah, go out and smash North. Great, that gives us a week, and then we want to see it again next week against Adelaide. Against a team that's still bottom 6, but they're better. They're on their home deck. Yeah, we want to see that. But first things first, we want to beat North. Go out there, take on the conditions that don't favour us. Actually play some wet weather footy. Don't try and play our over-possessing, kicking around the boundary, keepy off style. Actually, play to the conditions, knock it on. Eke out a win and get the 4 points and go again and make sure you do it again the following week and then the week after that and so on and so on.
Keys, you touched on people wanting senior players dropped, and obviously you're in that tough spot. The Eagles are, do you go hell for leather, make the finals with this group? How wholesale changes, how large do you go with wholesale changes? If there was one senior player, a properly established senior player, credentialed veteran that you think needs to have a good game or they are genuinely in the gun, are there any of those names leaping off at you? If you could pick one guy to really show up this week and go, yep, this is my week.
I think Cripps.
I
think Cripps needs a big game. Not that I think he's in danger of being dropped, but Darling needs a big game.
That was the one. I thought he was better on the weekend up the ground, but geez, his numbers still look pretty grim when you read them out. Yeah,
but Govan needs a big. There's a heap of guys. A couple of them are in danger. Cripps is in danger of being dropped. I think Sheet needs to. He needs to get his hands dirty. I saw someone popped up and said it was like the worst D7 possession game he's seen, and I think I did see a stat. He had something like a 40% disposal of efficiency, which is just horrid. So
a dozen clangers or something.
Sheet needs to be getting more physical pressure on his opponent, and there's the little things. O'Neill has sort of found his way out of the side because of a perceived lack of defensive pressure. And it's like, well, whose defensive pressure is keeping him out of the side? It's not as if, if he watches his teammates, he's going to be going, well, what the fuck am I out of the side because I'm not doing this? If you pick one from each line, I reckon you've got, Cripps and Darling is 2 from the forward line. Sheed in the midfield and Gov in the back line.
Very good. There's not really that much more to say on this one, I don't think, gents, because we know who North are. We unfortunately are starting to see who the real Eagles are. And this game, not to take them too lightly, not that you can just sort of chalk up a win and move on, but this game is as close to sort of a game that exists outside of the current season as you'll get, because if we win massively, like we've said, no one's going to care. It doesn't mean anything until next week. So we might as well just get on with it and, get a big win, I know. But, Migs, I don't think there's any long-term takeaway from this, short of a massive blowout at home at the hands of North Melbourne. With that in mind, what do you think is going to happen on Monday when we take the field, 5:40 p.m. Monday night in front of 35,000 people? How many do you think we're even going to get? But what are you expecting to see?
I'm expecting, probably under 35,000. I'm expecting to be extremely frustrated that we have to wait until Monday for this game. I'm predicting a win by 28, which is sort of, middle ground, not enough to crow about, also not close enough to be a worry, and a bit of a nothing result that will tell us nothing, like we've been talking about. And best of field, I had Jack Darling. Thought he looked all right against Sydney. Took some strong contested marks up the ground, did actually kick a goal, which he hadn't done for about a month. So, he'll be primed for a return to form. But I did, I made that prediction before I saw the teams and realised that North have some really good key defenders. They match up pretty well on us down there with if they've got Tarrant, McKay, and Josh Walker, who can all take our tools. So they might actually match us there. So we might have to pick. Might have to find goals from somewhere else. But I've already mentioned him, so he's my pick.
Keys?
I get to go to this game. Haven't bought my ticket yet, but there's plenty of tickets. So there's 35,001. The one will be me. It's as much as I understand the reasoning behind the time slot. It sucks balls. It's Monday. The round started tonight. It's Thursday, so we got the four sleep for our game. I mean,
there you go.
Our game's going to end up closer to the first game of next week than the first game of this week. 5:40. Who came up with that fucking time? I mean, at least make it 6:10 so people do have some sort of hope of getting to it if they've been to work.
VIX.
But
it's all the VIX.
Yeah.
Shit weather. So if we get 35,000, I think that's probably going to be a reasonable result. I'll be staggered if it's over 40. I reckon we're going to win by 24 plus 10 goals, so 84.
Wow. He's with the bait and switch. 84-point win. All right. And is Jamie Cripps going to stand up? Is Jack Darling going to stand up? Who's the one for you?
No, that's where. So Jamie Cripps won't stand up.
Jesus.
Yo.
Elliot,
Yo. Simo's going to be listening to this podcast. He's going to play him off half back, and he's going to have just run and gun and just be launching bombs off the half back line into our forward 50. And so and I'll take the credit for it if he plays half back.
Nicely done. Nicely done, Keys. A bit of chat going on now in the comments about, what do you want to see changed if we lose, and sort of the calibre of the game plan, these sorts of things. We might park that for now. Suffice to say, heads would roll, but we might park that now and have a bit of a chat.
If we lose, we're putting the Beyond Blue number on the bottom of this screen next week.
Jesus. Yeah, I know. Grim times. Well, look, it's not in stone yet. We might actually win. I hope we win. I'm going to predict that we win by about, what'd you say, Mix? 28? I'll go, 30, but an irrelevant 30, as irrelevant as it gets. Not much of a muchness this game. If we win, who cares? If we lose, it'll be very bad. But I think we're already feeling pretty low, So we'll wait and see. As for best on, I'm going to say Andrew Gaff comes back. He's had his hand injury or whatever the fuck was going on there, but hopefully he's back. Hopefully we get a little bit more outside run and gun, and Gaffy can use that tank in the wet and just outrun people. We'll wait and see. Fingers crossed, guys. We will wait and see.
Gaffy against the team that really wanted him.
I didn't even remember that storyline. Yeah, good. Done. Love it. Lock it in. All right, guys, that will do it from us this week. Thank you very much, Migs, for jumping on the show. It's been a deeply unpleasant one, but not for lack of trying. So thank you very much.
Yeah, always deeply unpleasant after a game like that.
And Keys, you got the rusty spike out, dished it out to a few people, but none more deservingly than our own boys, unfortunately. But nonetheless, nice to see you on the show again.
Yeah, well, hopefully we pull our fingers out and have a good win. I mean, it won't change perceptions, but I give a shit. Much rather watch us win than watch us lose. So let's have a win.
Absolutely. 100%. Guys in the comments as well, a lot of good comments today. People having a bit of a chat about where we're at and who they liked, who they didn't like. So it's great to see. Share the show.
Cheers,
tag a mate. Bender offering the what is it? The Vine Stefana. So if they want to get on board with a bit of a sponsorship, hit us up. Sort Keys out every week. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, look, tag a mate. Share the show around. If you got a bit of the show that you liked or you want to see a short clip of, if you want to see, you want something to send to a mate or whatever, hit us up. We'll do our best as well. Just, let's grow this thing. The Eagles might not be working, but at least we can all commiserate together. Until next week, guys, we will talk to you this time next week, Thursday, 8:30, on the heels of a Monday night game. Hopefully the Eagles have a big win. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.
Bye.